My name is Sam Padani, and we're going to be talking about the ergot fungus, otherwise known as the Claviceps species. Here we're going to discuss the history of ergotism, life cycle, disease cycle, the epidemiology, plant symptoms, economic impact, prevalent impacts today, control methods, and yeah. Ergot is a fungal disease whose effects were observed in ancient times. It still poses a problem for modern farmers and ranchers. References to ergot have been cited back to 600 BC, where a Syrian tablet was described ergot as a nauseous pustule and the ear of grain. Um, it's also been referred to as a nauseous grasses that cause women to drop womb and die in childbirth in the Book of Parsees. The first documented mass epidemic caused by ergot was called St. Anthony's Fire, and it killed nearly half the population in Paris and the Aquitaine region of France in AD 944 to 945. This was due to the consumption of toxic alkaloids in the ergot-inflected rye flour that they were eating. To the next page. Ergotism is a condition that is developed from the overconsumption of toxic alkaloids that are present in ergot-infected grain. Symptoms vary, but are separated into two categories: gangrenous and convulsive ergotism. Both can occur in human and mammals, especially in livestock. Very low tolerance of acceptable amounts of ergot in grain have been enforced worldwide in selling and exporting of grains to reduce the spread of ergot. Gangrenous ergot symptoms include gangrene due to constriction of blood vessels in the extremities, and this is exaggerated in cool weather. Convulsive symptoms include hysteria, hallucinations, and burning sensation on the skin and on the skin. Human disease due to consuming toxic alkaloids from ergot-infected grains has been nearly eliminated due to the removal efforts and cleaning of grain. The life cycle. So the primary infection of claviceps or ergot is caused by the dispersal of ascospores that are ejected from the perithecia that were formed during the spring by the sclerotia. When an ascospore lands on an unfertilized ovary of the host plant, the germ tubes penetrate the cuticle of the ovary and follow the pollen tubes and grow a long filamentous hyphae to form a hyphal bundle. Once the hyphae expand to the ovary, all over the ovary, it penetrates into the vascular tissues of the host plant and forms branched mycelium. The mycelium takes over the whole ovary and starts exuding honeydew and conidia that will later initiate the secondary inoculation of the fungus. After 2 weeks of infection, honeydew and conidia production halts, and the formation of an overwintering body called sclerotia begins. One of the attributes that led to ergot's wide dispersal is its ability to reproduce sexually and asexually. Sexual reproduction results in the formation of sexual fruiting bodies called perithecia that contain ascospores, which are ejected and dispersed in the wind onto the stigma of the host plant, and this leads to an ergot infection. Asexual reproduction occurs through the germination of conidia, which form long filamentous hyphae that colonize over the host plant ovary. That's the stuff that's exuded with the from the ovary with the honeydew. Sclerotium is collected with the harvested grain during the harvest process. Someone falls to the ground. These sclerotium can lie dormant until they are exposed to ideal germination conditions, which part of that is that it has to have a 4 to 8 week cool fertilization period to be viable for germination. And this germination occurs on cool, wet spring days on the host plant ovaries just prior to flowering. The stroma forms on the infected plants along the stipes with mushroom-like perithecia. Sexual reproduction occurs within these. The epidemiology of Claviceps or ergot. So Claviceps species are common in temperate climates that provide necessary cold period for germination. Low temperatures can induce male sterility within sorghum and other grass grain species, which creates the ideal host plant for the fungus. Rainfall or high humidity is required for stroma and ascospore formation. Water, wind, insects, and movement of farm equipment provide transport of conidia and aids in the secondary spread of the infection. Host plants become resistant to ergot when the plant completes the flowering process because the ovary has to be unfertilized. There are 40 plus species of Claviceps or ergot that infect 600 plus species of grasses and cereal grain crops, which includes sorghum, rye, and millet. It's highly organ specific, and only infects the unfertilized ovaries of the host plant. Shows no effect really within the plant. It doesn't show any. It shows no necrotic growth symptoms on the host plant. And the first sign that you can tell of an infection is present is the honeydew, which is the mixture of the conidia and the plant phloem secretions. It's between the infected glums of grain heads that kind of exudes from all over that grain head from the infected ovaries. Eventually, though, this is replaced by that sclerotium that we mentioned earlier, and this is referred to as an ergot. This consists of mycelial tissues containing storage cells with a dark outer cortex that provides protection from the inside from weather. Economic impact. This caused the U.S. cattle industry more than $6 million losses. Crop and grain losses is accounting far more, and for far more losses, on an absolute global scale. This is major economic losses due to decreased quality of grain and reduced yield, and it can cause 30 to 100% loss of crops and seed production facilities. Prevalent impacts today. Ergot attacks sorghum, which is it's the fifth most important cereal crop across the world at the moment, and it affects it throughout the entire range which that sorghum is grown. There are three main species of this ergot that are attacking the sorghum, and those are Claviceps africana, Claviceps sorghii, and Claviceps sorgicola, for sorgicola. And those are all attacking our sorghum crops. It's a global threat that affects F1 seed production immensely due to the use of male sterile, highly hybridized sorghum plants, and has caused major economic losses from reduced seed yield and quality, as well as the need to sort the sclerotia from the harvested grain. That costs a lot. Ergot was first discovered in India and Africa, but quickly spread worldwide, and it's pretty much everywhere that sorghum is grown. Control methods. The best control methods for any of these clavicide species is to prevent the infection before it happens. But if the infection is present, that's pretty much nearly inevitable that it will, or if the fungus is around, it's pretty much inevitable that it will infect the crop. There are control methods in place, though, if the method does occur. And there's chemical control, which is the chemicals used to effectively, they can be used effectively to manage ergot infection before it really happens. So in like a preventative manner in seed production fields and nurseries. But it's kind of uneconomical for major grain production just because it would just cost too much. It wouldn't really be worthwhile. There's cultural methods of containing this fungus as well. Now, sowing plants that are in accordance to weather, so to keep flowering periods to a minimum. So plant your plants to where it's not getting too cool early, which can extend the flowering period. And then using deep tillage plowing in the fields to bury the canidia residue below the soil will help kind of set back some of the secondary inoculation of this. And you can also remove the infected panicles from the crop, help kind of control, get rid of more of that canidia. And then there's also the seed processing to get rid of the sclerotia within the grain. And that is it. That is it. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's it.